Her 9000's Game Room.
Toys was a 1992 fantasy comedy film directed by Barry Levinson and starring Robin Williams, one of the, in my opinion, most talented comedians people have had the pleasure of seeing on film. Yet even though it hurts me deeply to criticise something starring this man, the film was pants, and I say that as somebody who absolutely loves Robin Williams. The guy was a legend, but this was one of very few films he did that was absolute hot steaming garbage. I'd much rather think about him as the genie from Aladdin, or Mrs. Doubtfire, or even as a stand-up comic. If I could, I'd forget that Toys ever came out. It's not just my opinion though that this is a bad film. The thing tanked at the box office at the time of its release, despite having not only Williams but an impressive cast in general and a $43 million budget. The film was criticised for a lack of plot focus and poor direction, even to the point that its director was nominated for a Razzie Award for Worst Director. The real thing it proved though was that despite his amazing talent, Robin Williams could be in a flop, and that his raw talent was not enough to turn any old mess into gold. Now, it's sort of the unwritten rule in the world of video games, and to be honest, this was even more true back in the SNES days, that if a game's a movie licence, then 9 times out of 10 it's going to be a steaming bag of manure. So before this game came out, no one expected anything of it. After all, it was a video game not only based on a film, but based on a bad film. So, Toys was an action game based on the film, developed by Imagineering Inc., which was an in-house developer for the publishing company Absolute Entertainment. It was released in 1993. In general, all the company had ever released on Nintendo platforms was a bunch of games that either had received either very mixed or very mediocre reviews, including a bunch of Bart Simpsons-based NES games and TV quiz-based NES games. So as far as I remember, expectations were absolutely in the gutter. This being true, I avoided it like the plague. I remember seeing it on store shelves for £40 and then less and less and less, until it was like £5 in bargain bins, and I still didn't try it. Sure, at this very moment in time I'm considering buying one of the apparently worst PS4 games released so far, for only £5, to see if it's as bad as people claim. But back when the SNES was out, I was having to use my pocket money to get games, or I was having to ask for them for Christmas. So £5 I would have spent on this would have been £5 I couldn't put towards a game of some actual worth. So here I am now, trying this game for the first time years and years after its release. It could be argued that I'm going to judge this on nowadays standards, as opposed to based on how it stands when compared to games of its time. But trust me, I'll keep what things were like back at that very time very much in mind. Also, if you've watched my series of reviews so far, you'll see I play a heck of a lot of retro games. So, I do enjoy old-fashioned games, and I'm not like a snob where if it's not super modern graphics, I won't touch it. I quite like the 16-bit era in general, so it's just worth saying. Okay, so popping it in, the first thing you're met with is the intro sequence, which is nothing special at all. It literally just tells you the story, with blinding white and light blue text, which seems to come out of a static elephant statue as words written in water. Now, one thing they did right was to not try to make the whole film into a game scene for scene. Some parts of a film just wouldn't really translate to a game. As this game stands, the game basically starts in the last third of the film with you infiltrating the Zevo toy factory that is being run by General Leland Zevo. The kindest thing I can say about the graphics is that they are extremely average for when this game came out. Sure, I might have just played Donkey Kong Country 3, one of the finest looking games on the SNES, but don't worry, I popped a few games in the slot between this and that to cleanse my palate, and still came away with average being the nicest thing I could really say about it. The music also can kindly be described as average, but it's also totally 100% forgettable. The sound effects are best explained with the term mixed bag. Sure, some of them are kinda nice, but others are just plain awful. The controls don't actually feel bad at all, which is what I usually find is the thing that makes for a bad game. I mean, if it's good to play and can hook you in, then average or even bad graphics and sound can be forgiven and or ignored. The basic idea of the game is that you use happy, fun children's toys to try and attack and beat war-based toys. So you're shooting at tanks and helicopters with an elephant head peanut firing gun, or sending spinning tops or toy robot ducks at them. This could be fun. I mean, look at other games such as Zombies Ate My Neighbours, where a wide variety of weapons all have very different strengths and weaknesses. But the truth is, all of these weapons seem to do virtually nothing to the enemy. It does really feel like you're throwing peanuts at a tank and hoping it will somehow blow up. In fact, on my first go, the only thing that seemed to die from my attacks was the walking bombs. On my second go, I did get a little bit better. I collected more types of toys and worked out where to stand so I could hit things more than they hit me, and I did manage to kill a jeep or two, but the cameras you need to get rid of are surrounded by tanks, and I literally used everything I had to try and destroy a tank, and I got nowhere. I even tried to attack the thing I'm certain is the camera in case I could just run in, destroy it and jog off before the tanks could kill me, and that didn't work either. I actually cannot make any progress in this game at all, and this sucks the very fun out of what in theory could have been a good fun game. I have to score this game pretty low, and I'd not recommend it to anyone unless they are a die-hard collector who just wants everything, and then I would say to make sure you get it cheap. It doesn't feel as broken as other bad games I've played like Ultraman and the Rocketeer, but I actually think I got less fun out of it, and was more frustrated. Rocketeer might have been a mess, but with effort I made some progress. Bearing all this in mind and the fact that the main purpose of a game is to entertain, I feel I have to give this a score of 2 out of 10. If you're a glutton for punishment or a collector, the cheapest I can find it online for at this very moment in time is £10 for a cart. And that's a PAL one. I paid £4 for my copy, £4 with free postage, complete and in fairly good condition. The copy I got was advertised as an NTSC version, which I think might have helped, but when it arrived it was PAL. Do I regret buying it? Not really. I like to see what exists for a machine, both good and bad, and at least now I can have my own opinion rather than having to say, oh well, I've heard it's bad. If you want a fun game based around toys, then I'd strongly recommend Toy Soldiers on the Xbox 360 Live Arcade, which sells for the excellent price of £6.75. It also has 2 sequels. The third game in the series includes action figures such as He-Man. So, if you grew up in the 80s, definitely give the Toy Soldiers games a look, particularly the third one. Okay, that's Kerr9000 signing off saying keep on gaming.